Hello, we're going to be doing an activity where we're going to be observing similarities and differences in animals. So, as you watch this video and as I ask a question, I want you to pause the video to discuss it with whoever you're watching with, or think about it if you're looking at it on your own. And the first question I'm going to start with is, what did you notice about organisms when you read Blue Whales and Buttercups? So pause now. If you haven't read that yet, go back and do that activity. That's the previous activity to this. But if not, pause the video and think about that. Okay, remember, we're investigating this question in our role as wildlife biologists. What are some ways that organisms can be similar or different? Something that's similar has things in common. So, the word we're going to use a lot in this unit is the word trait. And a trait is anything you can observe about an organism, including the way it looks and acts. So, based on what we read, here's another question where you could pause and think about it. Based on what we read in Blue Whales and Buttercups, what ideas do you have about traits? Think about that. Okay, maybe you said that, for example, when we think about a tree is very tall, often depending on the tree. This thing that looks like a lizard over here maybe is very slimy. So those are all words that could be used to describe an animal or a plant's traits. So think about that. Talk about one similarity and one difference in traits between two of these organisms in these pictures. So look at those four pictures, pick two of them, and think about how those two organisms are similar and how they're different. All right. I would love to know what you guys are thinking, but unfortunately, through this medium, we can't really do that. But maybe you picked the tree and uh, might be a salamander or a newt on the bottom. And you said that they're different because one's a plant and one's an animal. Maybe you said the same because they're both living things and need water to live, something like that. There are many correct answers here. So think about how you figured out the similarities and difference. How do you think a scientist might figure that out? What kind of tools might they use and what might they do? So if you observed animals in the wild, you wouldn't just look at them. What are the five senses you could use to observe? Think about whether you could remember the five senses. And you could pause the video right now. All right, if you hopefully you thought of the five senses as being the sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So which science? So again, pause after each of these questions that I read. Which sense would a scientist use to observe the following? The flavor of a new kind of tomato. So pause. Okay, maybe you recognize that that was the sense of taste. We use taste to recognize flavor. All right, how about the texture of a snake's skin? Okay, that would be the sense of touch. The colors of a frog's skin. Okay, to see colors, you would obviously use your sense of sight, or seeing, your eyes. The sounds a pigeon makes. Okay, of course, that would be your sense of hearing. And finally, the scent of a buttercup flower. Scent is how something smells, so that would be your sense of smell. Okay, so to observe, we've used that word a lot in science. Just means to use any of the five senses to gather information about something. All right, so for this activity, you're going to be using your sense of sight to observe the animals on these cards, which you will have a link to on this assignment. It'll be a PDF file which hopefully you will be able to open. If you're not able to open it for whatever reason, you could just pause the video on this page to look at it on this YouTube video. And you're basically, there's going to be some writing, but the most important part is you're going to be observing the pictures. So you may know more about these animals, but today just focus on what you see and what you read too. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So what are some things that you notice about this animal from just looking at the photograph? Think about that. Okay, maybe you probably knew it's a kangaroo, it has a baby in the pouch, and so on. So the information on the cards came from observing animals in the wild. So on each card, it's going to be accompanied by some writing, which will give some information about the animal. So that's how we're going to be able to know more about the kangaroo's traits. We know that its body size is about 5 to 6 feet, it weighs 100 to 200 pounds, and so on. So carefully observe the animals on the cards and read the information about them. And if you're working with somebody, please feel free to discuss how their traits are similar and different, because you're going to be doing an activity which I'm going to show you as you observe the different animal cards. And we're going to use a chart to help us keep track of the similarities and differences in traits that we observe between different organisms. So let me actually pause this presentation, and I'm going to go here. So when I open up my PDF, this is what I see on my computer when I download these images. So I have an image of a alligator, a chameleon, a fire salamander, I was wondering what that was, a hummingbird, kangaroos, a leopard tortoise, peregrine falcon, a poison dart frog, a sea turtle, a spider monkey, and that's it. So there should be 10 cards. Now you'll notice that they're actually upside down so if it's going to be really hard to read it, don't worry too much about that. What I want you to really focus on the pictures, observing the pictures. If you want to, so for example, my PDF viewer allows me to rotate, and then I could read the information more easily about the chameleons. But again, if you can't do that, don't worry. After you've looked at all the cards, or while you're looking at all the cards, you're going to enter in some similarities and differences that you notice. So let me just explain that. I noticed, for example, that these are all animals. So that would be one similarity. All animals. I'm going to type that into the similarities column. I also noticed that some animals have fur and some have slimy skin. That would be a difference, right? So I'm going to list as many similarities and differences as I can. All right, so you have all this room on this page. Even if you want to go on and continue, the box will just wrap to the next page. If I keep hitting enter, you see that it goes to the next page. So you could keep entering similarities and differences. So that's what you guys are going to be doing. You're going to be entering similarities and differences between those 10 animals that you're going to see on these cards. All right, I hope that was clear, but if it wasn't, please let me know. Make a comment on the sheet or send me an email at dpearl2@schools.nyc.gov. Look forward to seeing your charts.